Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. What I'm going to do today is something I've actually been thinking about for quite a while, and I used to do this over on my Instagram when I went live a lot, and people really seem to like it. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do it here on my YouTube, and that way it's kind of saved forever, and people who miss out on those live videos can actually come here and watch these videos and listen to them after the fact, like if they're not able to check in within the 24-hour period. I apologize for how dark and like pixelated this is. The lighting in my house is crazy. I have two lights here in my living room that are ceiling lights. The one, as you can see, is over by my front door, like in the little lobby-ish area, like when you first come in. And the other one is directly above me. I had the one directly above me on. Problem is, everything was so washed out and white that it just was not happening. So I had to turn the other light on, and obviously I have all of my my fall lights on still before I have to take them down for Christmas lights. Which honestly, with how cold it's been and we got snow today, I'm like dying to put up my Christmas lights, but I have to wait because it's not Christmas yet until after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving night, all my fall stuff comes down. Day after Thanksgiving, then I start putting up my Christmas stuff. But it's a little early, but I'm just not feeling the fall, even though like everything in here is still very fall. So what I wanted to do is have a special playlist on my channel for story time. So story time is basically going to range from crazy things that happen in my life. Usually, you guys know from watching my Instagram lives, and everybody who's new here who doesn't know me yet, you will soon find out that there are crazy things that happen to me, like especially on vacations. Like I go on vacation, crazy stuff happens. No luck with traveling, really bad luck with hotels. It's insane. I'm saving the Comic Cons for a different playlist. I know everybody was talking about, a few people had messaged me and they're like, oh, when you go do your storytime videos, are you putting your Comic Cons in there? Well, Comic Cons are going to be a completely different thing. They're going to be their own playlist so that everybody can check in and hear about the experience, because I think they're like their own animal in, like, in a way. Because story time ranges from a bunch of different things. So this is going to range from like really bad experiences we have when traveling on vacation, bad hotels, like outside of the convention experience, um, paranormally stuff, because those of you who've checked in with me, you know there's a lot of paranormal stuff that goes on, a lot of creepy, crazy things. So that's kind of what my story time is going to be. It's going to be me sitting down and telling you crazy stuff that happens that probably isn't even going to be believable, but I promise you 110% it is, and I promise you 110% that there are witnesses to all of this craziness. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do a story time. So I briefly touched on this on my Instagram Live, but I figured that this would kind of be fun to talk about, at least for me, before the end of the fall season. For those of you who know, I usually travel once a year in the summer to Pennsylvania, in Lancaster. So this story is about, it's actually based off of a Comic-Con, so I'm not talking about the Comic-Con in this at all. But I was there as a guest at a Comic-Con for a book signing and like doing my books and stuff like that, and promoting some of my grandpa's art and bringing it to Pennsylvania, because he really hasn't been doing a lot of conventions lately that aren't basically outside an hour tops. So mostly it's been like a little bit upstate in New York and a little bit south of us. But that's pretty much about all he's been doing. So I have been contacted over the summer to be a guest there for my books and to bring some of my grandpa's art to sell. So of course I was ecstatic. I absolutely love Lancaster County in Pennsylvania. It's definitely different from here in New York. And I used to stay there in the summers with my aunt at the Wolf Preserve that's there. Basically, it's a giant, almost like a mansion, and you can stay in there, and there's a wolf preserve in the back, and you have free entry and you can walk around the grounds, look at the wolves. You get free breakfast. It's wonderful. And Lancaster is a really beautiful county. There are chocolate shops. There are really good like restaurants. That's like I can't even explain the cooking. Like it's definitely Amish cooking, but it's just so homey and like that good country cooking. And there's so many like little shops and like homemade things, and it's very cozy. And like I said, it is Amish country. So you basically are surrounded by cornfields everywhere you go. It's corn, 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 corn. That's it. So I went there, and my girlfriend Jen came with me, and we were like, well, we're going to turn this into a really nice getaway for the weekend. We have the convention. The convention's one day. Then we're just going to spend the rest of our time relaxing and enjoying Lancaster because she had never been there. So, very, very long story short leading up to this. Back in February this year, I ended up buying a new car. My car was a gift from my grandfather when I turned 18. And I loved the car. It was fairly new at the time, but, I mean, it's been 10 years, so the car was getting old. The car was having some problems. I mean, it still ran really great, and even when I traded it in, the dealer had said it was a great car, and they actually took it and use it now for like transporting and stuff. But I really wanted a new car. So I went out and bought a new car in February. And for those of you who don't know, most of the new cars these days there are no keys. It's all push button start, and there is essentially, like I said, no key. There's nothing manual. It's all like almost auto. So I've never had a problem. When I bought the car, my first question was, what happens if the key fob that basically controls everything in the car stops working? I was told this has never happened. You know where this story is going. So after the Comic-Con, we're traveling through Lancaster, and we basically had the whole day planned before we were coming home. We were going to take a ride on the Reading Railroad. Those of you who have Monopoly and play it, you know that that is one of the Monopoly stops in the game. So we were really excited. I've ridden on the Reading Railroad many times, and yes, it's Reading, not reading. But I have traveled on that so many times, and I really wanted Jen to experience it. So we left the hotel in the morning after the Comic-Con, and we're traveling, and it's just cornfields. Like I said, cornfields for miles. And, I mean, every time I go to Lancaster, I'm always joking that it reminds me of, like, Children of the Corn from Stephen King. Because that's all there is. Like, if something happens, there really is no help. So we start getting close to the train station, and we pull off. It's in the middle of basically a cornfield. We are completely surrounded by corn. Across the way is the railroad tracks and like the little stand where you can go get your ticket. So the car turns off, and I had a problem with the key fob. I don't remember exactly what it was, if the car didn't turn off right away, but we got it to work. And, oh, I remember. I got out, and on the car door where the handle is, basically there's a little tiny silver button that now you hit, because the key fob is like basically detects when you're close so that it knows to open for you. So I had hit the silver button on the door trying to lock my car because all of our belongings were in there. All of my books, all my grandpa's art, our laptops, everything. And it wouldn't lock. So I had said to Jen, this is really weird. Like, I think something's wrong with the little fob. So I really didn't think anything of it, and I was like, well, we'll have to leave the car unlocked. We're just going to go take a ride on the train. When we were done, because we realized it was Sunday, and because it was Amish country, almost everything was closed on Sunday. So everything we really wanted to do was closed. So we had said, well, when we're done here, we'll go eat at the Smorgasbord, which is all that good country Amish cooking. So, so, so good. So we had said, we'll go do that. Well, essentially, we start walking away, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Why don't we move some stuff into the trunk? Because that way, if somebody gets into the car, they at least can't get our things in the backseat. Because we had a few things like just hanging out. So I go back and I go to open the door, and I realize that the car is locked. Because on the new cars, when you walk away, it auto locks. So I was like, alright, car locked. That's a good thing. So I go and I hit the button, and it doesn't open. So I was like, alright, now we can't get back in the car. So I start hitting the key fob and the unlock button on the fob, and it's not working. So now we're panicking because, mind you, this is the middle of summer. It's probably 100 degrees outside. We were sweating so bad. And we're in the middle of a cornfield. In the meantime, my phone is pretty much dying because I had been using it for GPS. I didn't have it plugged in because I really didn't feel the need to have to plug it in because we were going to be going on the train and we had a power bank in the car. So we said, we'll charge it when we get off the train. So I end up calling my mother with the very little service that I have because, again, we're in the middle of corn. There is no service anywhere. So, of course, now my mother's panicking because we are legit 5 hours from home in New York, in Lancaster. So if my parents had to come drive out to help us, pick us up, and, get us back to New York and leave this car somewhere, it would be a 10-hour drive for my dad. Also, they really didn't know where we were because we were in the middle of corn. So my mom is trying so hard to figure out how to work all of this because it's a nightmare. So she's giving me the number to call roadside assistance, which I have through my car. I also do have AAA, but the problem is I was like in between membership with it because I was off of my parents' plan because I'd moved out 2 years ago. So I no longer was on their plan, and I was waiting to get my own plan, which I ended up doing right after all of this happened. So I call roadside assistance once my mom hangs up. So in the meantime, my mom is messaging Jen and trying to figure out what to do. So roadside assistance tells me that they need a number that is inside of my car. And they have to know from my odometer, there's some number on my odometer they need. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, I can't get in my car. Second of all, even if I could get in my car can't start because my fob doesn't work. And these cars don't have keys, so they run solely off of a push button from your fob. So I can't get this number. So they want me to fill out this giant form on my phone. Can't happen. I hang up. In the meantime, my mother figures out that if you pull the fob really hard and really quick, there is a key-like mechanism inside of it. This cannot start your car, but it can get you into your car. So if you pull your door handle off, there's actually a little tiny hole in there that you can stick this in, and you can get into your car. So we do this, but because it wasn't opened with the button and like the detector that I am who I am, the car alarm starts going off in the middle of these cornfields. So now I'm in the back of my head, I'm just thinking, great, now everyone for miles is hearing our car going off, and we can't make it stop. It will not stop. So finally, Jenna's like, well, let me get in the car, because if I get in the car, maybe I can get it to stop. So she gets in, she closes the door. The alarm stops. So I call my mother back. I let her know everything is working out. My service is low. My battery is dying. It is 100 degrees. So I told her, I'm like, well, we got the car open. Jen is in the car. Problem is, we can't start the car. Like, is there something in the car we can stick that little mechanism in to drive it? So my mom is trying to look and figure it out. Well, in the meantime, across the little screen that's in my car, like where you play your stereo and everything, big letters across there, it says theft attempt. Because they thought we were breaking into the car. So now theft attempt activates, and when theft attempt activates, it will not let you start the car even if you are able to. And essentially, it completely locks the car, and you can't unlock it. Jen was locked in the car in 100-degree weather. So I immediately call roadside assistance back. Thankfully, this time I got somebody, and I'm trying to explain to them, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. My girlfriend is locked in the car. It's 100 degrees. I said, this theft attempt is across there. My key fob isn't working. Like, what is going on? I said, is it a battery issue in the fob? Is it a battery issue in the car? Like, what is going on? My car is brand new. I literally bought it in February, and I think this was in July. So I'm like, there shouldn't be a problem with the battery already in the car. The car is brand new. So the woman is telling me that the car battery has a problem. And again, I'm arguing with her and telling her the car is brand new. I just bought it. There should not be a battery problem. All this arguing. In the meantime, I'm telling her my girlfriend is locked in the car. It is over 100 degrees. We need to do something. Jen is sweating and she's messing with the manual because she's trying to figure out what to do. So the woman tells me that they could send somebody to jumpstart the car. I said that's not the problem. The problem is not getting the car jump started because you still can't really drive it without the fob. So I'm trying to explain this to her. I'm telling her again how hot it is. I'm telling her the entire situation, and I said we're 5 hours from home. Then she tells me that she can't help me because I'm not in New York. Because roadside assistance apparently only works for your home state. And she's like, well, we can't send anybody because you are no longer in New York. You're in Pennsylvania. I'm livid. At this point, I am livid. I have, because we were cosplaying, for those of you who don't know, I cosplay from time to time. And the character I was cosplaying was Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I have, if I had it in here, I would definitely show you, a silver, very heavy metal briefcase that I bring for my cosplay. It was in the back seat of the car. And it was getting to the point, it was so hot, and Jen could not unlock the doors that I was getting ready to tell her to grab the briefcase and just smash the window. Because I'm like, you're going to die in the car if you don't get air. She can't even turn the car on. I don't know what she ended up doing, because I ended up calling my mother back, and we were all panicking because we're like, I'm telling her, we're going to have to smash the window. There's nothing else we can do. I don't know how we're getting home. We're 5 hours away. It's a Sunday. There's basically no auto shops are open. Roadside assistance won't help me because I'm no longer in New York State. Well, Jen ended up messing with something, and she got the car to turn on, and she was able to open the door. So once the engine was running, I called roadside assistance back. And I asked them, and I said, hey, we got the car running, but is it drivable? That was my main thing. I said, can I drive this car? Because the theft attempt would still start popping up. The initial lockdown from theft attempt went away because it was like on a timer. Basically because it thinks that, whoever's trying to steal the car, they're going to see that, the alarms are going to go off, and then it's going to lock itself, and they're going to leave. So, of course, the woman on the phone could not help me, had no idea, but offered to send somebody again to jumpstart my car, even though I'm not in New York State, so I don't understand. But I told her, no, that was fine, hung up, and we got in the car, and thankfully, we were able to drive it. So, we went on the railroad. We were so stressed, so we ordered wine and a cheese and fruit platter for our ride because we were so stressed out. I told Jen, I'm like, we're relaxing. As soon as we're done, we're getting in the car, we're driving to the smorgasbord, we're eating, and then we're going back to New York because I am done with the country. I am done with corn. I'm done with this. So, all of that aside, the car did drive after that. We were able to have everything work. The key fob had to sit in the center console, and it seemed to work from there. So we didn't have any more problems. From there, there were a lot of other things. I had issues with the car on and off once I got back to New York. They ended up finding out that it was actually a microchip in the car that was not reading the fob correctly. So they changed the batteries in the fob and they replaced the chip in the car, and now everything works smoothly, knock on wood. But that was the biggest scare of all of it. And the smorgasbord was delicious, by the way. If you've never had like country Amish cooking, I highly recommend it. Some of the best comfort food that there is in the world. I don't even know everything that I ate there. I ate so much, like mashed potatoes, gravy, like all these different types of chicken, all these like creamed different foods, and it is just so good. Also, shoe fly pie is amazing. Jen tried it, and she's like, "What is a shoe fly pie?" It's popular in Pennsylvania, in the Lancaster County, and essentially it's a molasses pie, and it is so sweet and so good. And if you can have it warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream, it is to die for. So please, please, if you're in Lancaster, try some hot shoe fly pie, because I promise you it is one of the best pies you will ever eat. So we get back home to New York. I am so happy to be home. I've never been happier to be home, because that fiasco was just the worst. But all I could think of is being trapped, surrounded by cornfields. And thankfully my phone battery survived. Had my phone battery died and we were not able to get into the car, we would have had no phone. My service was bad enough. If I lost service, just imagine that I couldn't make a phone call. We're surrounded by cornfields on all sides. Corn for miles. And you would have to walk miles to the nearest place of civilization, which are Amish farms with no phones. So you couldn't even get help, and they're not going to know what to do with the car because they don't use cars. So I told Jen, I said this was like something out of a horror movie. This could have gone completely wrong. We could have been stranded, nobody knew where we were. All we kept thinking of was these like murderers were gonna come out of the corn and kill us, and no one would ever know, because that's just how it all is. That's all that was in our head. But thankfully we had service. Thankfully we were able to get a fix, and we were able to get back home to New York okay. But I think that was probably my craziest this year vacation trip. So I definitely wanted to share that with you for my first story time, before I start talking about more of like the paranormal, creepy stuff. But that definitely was something that I've been wanting to share in depth for a while. I think I did back on my Instagram when it happened. I don't remember 100%, and I don't remember if I really went into all the detail, because I was mainly talking about the convention itself. But for fun, and it's actually funny because it's staring me in the face, I still have a lot of Halloween decorations that I have to put back down into my basement, because I've just been so far behind on everything I've been supposed to be doing. The one that's actually staring at me dead in the face right now is perfect for this, and it is my Field of Screams plaque that I used for my trunk or treat this year. So we basically had gotten this for our trunk or treat idea because of this horrible, horrible adventure gone wrong. So we ended up having like a haunted cornfield, because all we could think of is corn, and how much we hate cornfields now, and how we really don't want anything to do with them for a very long time. So definitely, if you're traveling to Lancaster and you're having any problems with your car, make sure you have a power bank. Make sure your phones are charged. We're very lucky. Alright guys, so that was my first story time. It really wasn't that scary. I mean, it was scary for me. For you guys, probably not. You're probably like, oh my god, like, okay, that's crazy. But I'm definitely going to be doing more of these. I really want to share some of like the vacation trips I've made that are a little crazy. Like this one. and some of the mishaps that we've gone through, some stories that are like funny, and definitely share some of my paranormal stories because I know we were talking about them in one of my videos and people were really interested in them on my Instagram live. So I figured maybe I'll jump in and start talking about some of that stuff again, you know, here, and do like my own little series on it because I think that would be fun for some of you guys. Alright, so I'm going to head off because this is actually going on a half an hour, but I feel like my storytime videos are going to be a little longer than my precious publications or just like, you know, my little daily update check-ins because there's a lot more to tell in these and some of the stories are a lot more in-depth than others. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I apologize for the quality. This time of night where I live, it's just terrible because the lighting outside is not the greatest. The lighting in here is either too bright or too dark. You really can't find that nice in between. So I've been working really hard on trying to get better lighting. Maybe to get like my own light source that's not going to completely wash everything out as I go forward. But unfortunately it gets so dark so early now that by the time I get home from the office, it's dark and I really am fighting daylight to try and record something for you guys. So weekends are definitely my better bet when I'm not busy. So thank you for stopping in and listening, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you stick around for my future storytime videos. And if you know of any story times that I've told in the past on my Instagram lives, and you want me to share them here or go back in more depth, please comment and let me know which stories you want me to tell, because I could definitely tell them better here. I can definitely go into more details here, and you can hear them again. So if there's any that you definitely know off the top of your head that you want to hear again, just let me know in the comments. So thanks again, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good night.